So Germany had a mega strike. This, I think I saw one article, or maybe maybe Lee Camp covered it. I mean, like, nobody talked about this. And this is a pretty big strike. So what happened here? The mega strike. This I'm thinking of Will Ferrell and the Let's Get Tropical, and what's the name of that movie? Oh man, the basketball movie. And Mega Bowl. It's the meaningless game that he made something important. Mega strike. But this actually was really important because mega strike brings Germany to a standstill in a fight for survival amid cost of living increases. All right. Just like France, once they see it, it starts breaking out. A major strike brought much. Yeah, semi-pro. Thank you. Brought much of whoever said that. Thank you, gamer. Yes, good call. Major strike brought much of Germany's air traffic, rail strike, and commuter lines to a halt on March 27th as workers demanded wage hikes in the face of rapid inflation. Workers at airports, ports, railways, buses, and metro lines heeded a call by the Verdi and EVG unions for the 24-hour walkout. It was just a 24-hour walkout, but to show them the power. Reuters described it as, quote, one of the largest walkouts in decades in Germany, while local media nicknamed it a mega strike. Right? So Verdi represents around 2.5 million public sector employees, while EVG represents 230,000 workers on the railways and at bus companies. The rare joint strike marks further escalation of an increasing dispute over pay. It's not that kind of joint strike. I think weed's already illegal there. Over a pay packet to blunt the impact of surging inflation. You got joints and blunts.
Someone did that on purpose. Glen Black did that on purpose. That definitely did.
That was for Reef. Verdi is demanding.
Glen Black seems like Glenn Beck's like alter ego. You know,
he actually looks like Jackson Hinkle. It looks like British Jackson Hinkle actually. Verdi's demanding a raise of 10.5% in monthly salaries, while EVG seeking a 12% increase. Employees, mostly at the state and public sector companies, have so far refused the demands of the employers. Instead, they've offered a raise of 5%.
But what about the 10.5%?
What about the 10%? What about the 5%? They've offered a raise of 5% with 2 one-off payments of €1,000 and €1,500 this year and next. But that's not permanent. They love doing those one-time payouts, but those one-time payouts don't stick, and they don't translate to hourlies. And there's all kinds of steps, and then you end up getting a percentage if you're not a full-time permanent stipulations. Yes.
Gotcha.
As a result,
not like a South American person saying steps.
As a result, that's South African, not South American.
South African?
Yes. Berlin's usually busy central train station was mostly quiet on the morning of the 27th of March after the National Railway canceled long distance and regional links across the country. There's a picture of the train board. Crazy.
Now imagine, if you will, okay? I don't know, like, train companies in America were willing to, like, do this.
Well,
if train workers were willing to do,
but these are passenger trains. These are passenger trains. These are passenger commuter trains. I don't think you have nearly the amount of commuter rail trains and workers, etc. nationally unionized. But I love yes.
I mean, it's almost like someone would want to stop that from happening.
Well, maybe, but meanwhile, the arrival and departure boards at Frankfurt and Munich showed rows of canceled flights, and you can't really see it. But it's just like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's no bueno.
Those old flip boards.
Yeah, 160,000 passengers affected in one day, with some being redirected to smaller airports and then taking to FFM via buses. I mean, it's just, look, this is fuck around and find out. This is what this is what the airport security line looked like, or the check-in in Greece, in solidarity from Greece. Our solidarity with the workers of Germany on strike for wage raises, and they abandoned ship. Hell yeah. Verdi leader Frank Wernicke told public broadcaster Phoenix that labor struggle has no impact is toothless. He added that one day of strain with the prospect of reaching a wage agreement is better than weeks of industrial action. Meanwhile, according to German...
first sentence he had,
yep.
You could just put that up like, labor struggle that has no impact is toothless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we just tell every major labor group now that, please? Like,
seriously.
Ridiculous.
So, meanwhile, according to German national paper DW, Deutsche Welle, EVG's negotiating committee member Christian Lorock said the willingness to strike is very high, and the anger among the workers over being stalled by the employers is huge. Wow, that sounds familiar. We are striking today because in collective bargaining, despite the tight financial situation for many workers, we have not been presented with anything that is worthy of serious negotiations. Of course, the bosses were furious at the striking workers. Martin Seiler, head of human resources at state-owned rail company Deutsche Bahn, claimed that the strikes were groundless and unnecessary. And additionally, the German Airport Association said the strikes went beyond any imaginable and justifiable measure. Good. Maybe you'll know that we're serious. However, unions pointed out that their members are bearing the brunt of a soaring cost of living crisis. Thank you so much for NATO and Ukraine for a lot of that. But like many other countries, people in Germany are struggling with high inflation. The rate hit 8.7% in February. And as a result, unions called the strikes a matter of survival, quote. Earlier March, airports in Bremen, Berlin, Hamburg, and Hanover canceled more than 350 flights after security staff walked out. Bus and metro staff in Frankfurt also staged a strike. A third round of salary negotiations for public
trains and automobiles
sector workers began on March 27th. Amazingly, that when they walked out, that's when they start the third round. I guess it might work.
It does sound like a scene from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Kinda.
Like,
yeah, good luck.
All the way to Germany. Like, it's just, oh no, we are striking ya. Like, it's just, anyway.
Bidenflation, I would also call that Borisflation, Lori. Bidenflation is global, but yeah, so is Borisflation, because this is also Boris Johnson that orchestrated and told, probably at the direction of Biden and U.S. Intel and MI6 and all those guys. But flights, trains canceled in Germany as strikes on the, as the strikes ground transportation. And this was from France 24, France. This was the other publication. I looked for these German strikes and for the one-day strike, transportation strike. Biggest strike in Germany in decades, and nobody talking about it. Why do you think that is? Because they don't want people knowing.
They don't want us to do it here. Yeah,
they don't want people knowing that the natives are restless. Airports and bus and train stations across Germany were to standstill Monday morning, causing disruption for millions at the start of the working week during one of the largest walkouts in decades as Europe's biggest economy reels from inflation. It's the same story, 24-hour strikes called by Verdi. Okay, about price of living, cost of living increases. And I think Depop Culture even says the cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save.
Yep. Thank
you, Jesse. Hi, Cynic. Employees are pressing for higher wages to blunt the effects of inflation, which reached 9.3% in February. Actually, they said 8.7. This one says 9.3. Germany, which is heavily dependent on Russia for gas before the war in Ukraine, has been particularly hard hit by higher prices as it scrambled for new energy sources. I wonder where they're getting that energy from now. Could it be Norway and the United States? I don't know, maybe. Norway. With inflation rates exceeding the euro area average in recent months, which, again, isn't a surprise. That plus the $100 billion that they committed to buy in weaponry, that kind of puts a dent into your economy as well. Persistent.
You mean economies get war weary? You mean that?
Well, not ours. Everybody else's seems to, but ours never seems to. But persistent cost pressures have pushed central banks to a series of interest rate increases, though policymakers have said it's too early for talk of a price wage spiral. All right, so Verdi is negotiating on behalf of 2.5 million. We talked about the number of people. In the hours running up to the strike, both sides dug in their heels with union bosses warning that considerable pay hikes were a matter of survival, like we said, for thousands of workers. And 10.5% increase, further strikes. It's literally like they just copy-pasted this article. Here we go. Protest against Macron against the pension reforms also sparked the worst street violence in years in France. All right. Monday's walkouts are part of waves of disruptive labor strikes in wealthy European countries in recent months, including France and Britain, where hundreds of thousands of transport, health, education workers pressing for higher wages. Good.
Yep.
The strike will strain people's nerves, but economically, the losses are likely to be limited to the transportation industry because factories will continue to operate and many employees will continue to work from home. Well, sure, but still, despite signs of a second round of effects, we have not observed a destabilizing price wage spiral in Germany. So far, I love that so far at the end there.